Seance. It's the stuff of speculation and ridicule. We see them in movies and TV shows of some strange old lady with a weird accent, acting in funny ways, reaching out to talk to the dead or the undead. And then right after that, all sorts of spooky, scary things happen. Not really in real life. Actually, I have a thing I tell people about seance. When it comes to seance in real life, it's kind of boring. But there's a reason why we do seance. There's a reason why seance is still important for us to engage with. And so that's what I want to talk about today. In case you don't know, I'm Kadrick Olson, and I'm one of those weirdo people who have lived a paranormal life. I grew up going to seances. I grew up being able to talk to these beings, these otherworldly, mystical, subtle entities, as well as, I've learned about runes, taught runes, and have become a solid practitioner in the Norse practices. And it's really only been in these past few years that I've started to come out with the paranormal experiences I've had for my entire life and sharing these tips and techniques and the reasons why we do this. So today we're going to talk about the reason for seance. Now, we talked a little bit about what you'll see in the movies with seance, and sure, they're kind of fun, and that's kind of kooky and wacky and cool, whatnot, fine. But when it comes to real life, when we do seance, there's a lot of good that comes out of this. A lot of good not only for us as human beings in the flesh, living in the flesh, but also a lot of good for the spirits we're working for. It's a mutual benefit. Now, right off the bat, one of the biggest benefits the living get out of seance is the ability to reconnect with somebody that they lost, somebody that they love, and want to have, another way of saying hi, goodbye, how you doing? Where's the money in the wall? No. It just gives us another chance to reconnect and to know that life continues on the other side of the veil, on the other side of death, that the death of the body is not the end of personality. I think that's really a good way of working with it. It helps us to work through and integrate our grief and to get a better perspective of really what life entails, which leads us into another really important aspect of seance, is when you're in seance and we're communicating with spirits of all kinds, not just the dead, but there's a whole lot of other kind of beings out there. You get this realization that this physical, material, reductionist world, right? This material physicality is not all that there is, that there's more to the world. There's more to what it means to be human, and that we're not limited by our physical senses. Let's not say 5 senses because we know there are more, but we're not limited to the physical senses of the body, that we can open up to a whole nother world, a whole new reality, and open our minds and our beings to becoming more than we thought that we were. Another really good reason why we do seance is to build rapport with those guides, those whispers, the teachers, higher beings, whatever you want to call them, ascended masters. You build a communication, a rapport, a really strong connection so that you can get a different perspective of what's going on in your life. You see, when we're stuck in this day-to-day, three-dimensional, linear time reality, we think this is just a course of events. We can't get out of it. That's how things are. So be it. But when you're talking to one of these beings and they look outside of what we perceive as the only sense of reality, and they can give us a different perspective of what's going on around us, help us make different choices for our lives, and really come to an understanding of the things that we can't see or perceive or interact with, which then gives us another benefit. We now have a new level of being able to perceive. I call it perceptibility. You could perceive a whole lot more than you could before, which is an integral process for spiritual growth and spiritual development. To be able to experience and perceive, to see, to hear, to feel something new in new directions and new dimensions will open up your mind and your consciousness in ways that I really can't explain, that you can't even imagine. You have to experience it. And in a sense, seance does all of that, but not really. What seance really does is it opens up your mind to the possibility of all these things. It opens up your consciousness to attune to these higher states, so that little by little, day by day, you work through them and you become more than what you were. So seance is kind of like the gateway. It's kind of like the doorway. It's the parting of the veil to a higher sense of what your life is and what it can be. And really, that's why we do seance. Hail.